Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Alundra. This is it, the last optional episode, so to speak, when we finally catch up to all the stupid optional things I probably should have been able to do, or should have remembered to do quite a while ago, and then we'll proceed to carry on with the story at the end of this episode. So, as you may recall, last episode we finished the Fire and Ice Managers and picked up two of the last three weapons in the game. What's in the last slot on the item screen? Well, we'll see soon enough. See, there's one open slot on the end, and it's a pretty interesting weapon, so I won't spoil it right now. You'll notice we're heading back to the Magascar. You may remember during our first run through this dungeon, there was one treasure I didn't pick up. And I don't really recall why that was. It's something which is much easier to get in terms of actually extracting it from the room it's in now, but it's actually really hard to get back out of the Magascar again once you drop off this cliff right here. Yeah, I'll walk around a little bit. You'll notice all of these cliffs are 2 Alundras high, more or less, so you can't actually just jump back up once you fall down to that little pit over there. So, basically I'm paying for my stupidity and not... See, I can't jump back up there. I'm paying for my own stupidity and not picking up this item the first time around, make things marginally more difficult for myself on the first trip through, just to make it slightly easier to pick up this exact item now. So yeah, we can burn down these briar patches with the fire rod and pick up the Magascar Gilded Falcon, which could have done the torches in the upper right side of the room, and a few bombs on the switches that control the platforms, but that's enough of that. Suffice it to say, I made my way back out of the Magascar again, and now we're heading to Cephas's house. Interestingly enough, we've never actually been in here. He's always been blocking the path, or for some reason, things have conspired to stop us from being useful down here. Basically, we need the fire rod to activate this. Notice this, thing here on the back wall that Alundra can in fact clean off. This clue is not particularly interesting right now. What we're going to do now is something we're not supposed to be able to do until the very end of the game. You'll see there's 6 torches here in this room, and you're supposed to be able to light them up in a specific order that Cephas will tell you at the very end of the game. Why does he tell you at the very end of the game? Because there's a boss in between now and the end of the game that you're not supposed to have the item we're about to get for. He will give you a clue that allows you to, figure out what order you're supposed to light those 6 torches in. And once you do, you can pick up Nava's Charm. What does that do? Well, obviously it means Nav is a little bit more important than the philosophy letting on, but the actual function of the item is to neutralize certain elements. So I'll explain as we move to our next objective. What it means by neutralizing certain elements is that it makes you immune to very specific classes of elemental attacks, most notably fire attacks. And there are, in fact, a couple of bosses in the game that only use fire attacks. Meaning, by getting this item early, will make certain bosses later in the game basically basically incapable of damaging us. Anyway, now that we've finished that, moving back to Lurvy's house, I pointed this out also during our first trip through this area. We can drop off here to the right, and as you recall, there's a strength elixir at the bottom of this wall that we didn't pick up, and here on the right is a Gilded Falcon. Again, that's 3 already in this episode. I believe that puts us at 34. Annoyingly, you can't grab this little ladder just by jumping off from the platform itself, so you have to climb up manually. Oh well. While we're here, though, we do have a bit more to do in the actual desert area, so let's skip a bit back to... You should recall this place. It was something we passed by on the way to Lurvy's house the first time. If we stay on this side of the river, instead of crossing back over to sort of the mainland, the main central part with the Noah village, we can go up here to the north. There's another entrance to the upper part of the desert over there to the right. That's actually where we exited the desert. We got the Sand Cape and finished the ancient temple. This chest, of course, I guess we could have picked up at any point. I just, for some reason, just like the one near the coal mine, just completely forgot. Let's go get it now. And now let's go back to the desert. We can put on our Sand Cape and head back. We're going to be heading back to that one area where I sort of diverged. Yeah, I can't find the Sand Cape. It's been such a long time since I actually wore it. Moving on. We're going to be heading back to the upper part of the desert, where I picked up that one random life vessel and that one random Gilded Falcon a little while ago. Cycle my save games. Yeah, I've been having problems with the game freezing on me a lot lately, so I've been trying to cycle my save states a little bit more often to keep myself from getting stuck in a place where the game freezes right after I place a save state, which I usually do between room transitions. That effectively is why these last 2 episodes have been separated by such a large timestamp, because I've been having problems running the game itself. Anyway, moving to the northern part of this area, yes, I'm surprised we can actually make that jump up there. It looked like it was one of those 2 platforms that was 2 blocks high. Anyway, this is yet another room that we could have entered during our first trip to this area, but you can't actually complete what you're supposed to do here, or do everything anyway, until now. We can open this chest to get the sluice key, which is mystifying. I have no idea, or I should say the player would have no idea what you're supposed to use that for. But more importantly, or not really, more importantly, also importantly, you can use the ice rod to douse those pillars, and the stone floor to shatter them to pick up this life vessel, meaning we can clear out this room completely. So what do we do with the sluice key? Well, the answer is not too far from where we are right now. I mean, the sluice, you would expect to open a gate, right? It doesn't, as it turns out, open the gate in the water pumping station, when that happens for plot reasons, but now we have to make our way back around these platforms that we used to get up here in the first place. Yeah, not really the most conveniently designed area, I would say. I should point out that I have mentioned what was in all of these treasure chests when we first explored this area several episodes ago. None of them, other than what I already picked up or showed in this episode, are particularly worthwhile. There was a Gilded Falcon we picked up, obviously, when I first traveled here. So yeah, we can use the sluice key to open this door in this room right here. This puzzle is pretty straightforward. Of course, we can't just drop down there, you have to use the stairs. The sign will tell you have to hit the two switches at the same time, so we'll leave a bomb here, equip our flail, wait for the bomb to go off, and boom. This will actually open the sluice gate that will drain the little river that was weird, sort of strangely in the desert, the aqueduct that had been set up in the desert in between the cave where we got the sluice key and this little sort of sluice area in the first place. Back up, thank you, please get on the stairs. Okay, so now we can explore this little, now that we've drained the canal, let's find out why the heck we came here in the first place. Yet again, we have to make our way through this little maze of platforms. And thankfully at this point I've done this enough times that I don't have to worry about Alundra's wonky jumping physics. And we have exposed a new cave. Yes, please go in the cave. That's what we're here for. Thank you. Alright, moving on. So again, obviously, since we could have picked up the sluice key pretty early, we could have done this particular side quest quite early on. This is Beru. I have no idea who he is. The plot never mentions him again. And he's not one of the 7 sages. He's basically just here for this side quest. This should look awfully familiar if you ever played Simon or something along those lines. We're going to have to replicate 5 signs. They don't really spell out anything interesting. You're just going to have these little tiles line up in a particular pattern. It isn't quite as difficult as it looks. This sequence looks fairly long, but as it turns out, this isn't really a game of memory. It is useful to know vaguely where the symbols are going to light up, but realistically, basically all it's going to do is repeat the same sequence with the same timing, meaning all you have to do is step on a particular symbol while it is lit up in the same sequence. And obviously there are 5 of them. They get a little bit faster as you go, so the really difficult ones are going to be the ones at the end that are really fast, and then it pays off to actually have memorized, or to try to memorize the general flow of the sequences themselves. That way you don't get caught missing a particular symbol. If you do miss a symbol, the game will allow you to retry immediately, although you have to wait for the whole sequence to end before the game registers the fact that you screwed up. So yeah, the second one still isn't too bad. For the most part, I did not really bother to memorize. I just sort of memorized whether or not there were 4 cardinal directions or 4 diagonals, because they tend to go in groups, and they tend to go symmetric. So yeah, see, we did the upper left one, and then the bottom right, and now we're going to do the bottom left, and then the upper right, most likely. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, the center, for the slower ones, you kind of want to stay in the center, assuming you don't quite remember the exact sequence itself, which is pretty difficult if you're not well trained in terms of short-term memory. I believe the human brain is naturally trained due to phone numbers and things like that to retain exactly 7 things in short-term memory in a sequence, so anything more than that you'll need to come up with a mnemonic or something. Unless you're sort of naturally good at this sort of thing, you know, one of those people who memorize the digits of pi or whatever, or the 70-something, or the 100 or whatever, 2-letter words in Scrabble, that kind of thing. Also, if you finished sort of a pair in a sequence, and you're not really sure what to do, the center is usually a good guess. Oops, come on, see, you have barely enough time in this third sequence, to get to a platform if you make a completely wrong guess. By the end, you barely have enough time, even if you know what's going on, to get from left to right or top to bottom. And we're going to see this in the symbol of love. I have no idea why this is called the symbol of love. It isn't particularly more alluring compared to the other 4, kind of the one that we haven't seen yet. So yeah, this one's pretty fast. For the diagonal ones, you can sort of stay in the center and not worry too much about missing the timing on those particular symbols. But for the ones that are sort of diametrically opposed on opposite sides of the platforms, you really have to be on top of your game. See, left, right. See, just barely made the transition from bottom to top. There's no penalty for stepping on a wrong symbol, which sort of puts it in line with, not being an actual memory game. That was only something that I did not get right during the first sequence, sort of jumping over these platforms, trying not to step on the wrong one in time, but it's not really a concern. So yeah, this one goes really fast. And it doubles up in the center anytime it stops there for some reason, so I guess it just sort of fakes the player out if you're trying to get a jump on whatever the next platform is to have to go back to the center to hit it a second time. Sort of make sure that you're actually paying attention. Yeah, left. See, barely enough time. You have to basically be heading towards the symbol already in order to have any hope of getting the top and bottom ones correctly. So, now that we've done this 5 times, what do we get? Well, as it turns out, this is what opens up the teleport archways that we've seen all around the world map so far. There's no fireworks or anything. It doesn't even explicitly tell you that's what happened. You'll just have to go find out for yourself, and I will do that most likely off-screen, since they all have to be activated individually, and I've indeed showed the location of many of them over the course of this playthrough as it is. So anyway, that's the last main sort of optional side quest that we can do right now, and now it's time to resume the main plot. And thankfully, that happens to be right to the west, and a bit down a bit, of where we are right now. So let's exit the desert from this entrance, head into this little cave right here that the guys opened up, and we will begin the underground waterway, and the next sage quest, the next episode, will Let's Play Alundra. I will see you then.